Welcome to the Redefine Podcast. Okay, happy podcast day. Happy podcast day to you. Welcome to the show if you're brand new. And of course, if you are an existing listener and or viewer, welcome back. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, let's go ahead and just do the housekeeping first. Let's get that out of the way today. First, Path of the Jedi. It's our other podcast. So if you haven't checked that out, I invite you to please check it out. Just some more content from yours truly. It's personal development meets Star Wars. So it's personal development through the lens of Star Wars. Good fun. I'm really enjoying having that back in rotation because I just picked it up again at the beginning of this year. So you can check it out. I'll leave a link to that in the show notes of this episode, available wherever podcasts are available. But it also does have a website. So if you want to check out pathofthejedi.com, it's a blog. We have every episode on there with a transcript, as well as just other stuff that I write. I've started writing again in conjunction with Path of the Jedi's re-release. So you can check it out. Check out more content from yours truly, like I said. It's just good fun. It's good fun. It's an opportunity to learn and hear some more, principles from me, while also having a good time in geek culture, right? Star Wars culture and other fandoms as well. I just wrote an article there about the new Captain America movie, which I absolutely loved. So you can check that out. I'll leave a link to that in the show notes as well. Again, pathofthejedi.com and Path of the Jedi, the podcast. All right, the next thing is Ronnie's Health Corner. Ronnie's Health Corner going strong. It just started, but it's a new series exclusive to our YouTube channel. So if you're listening to this on the podcast, you'll have to go to the youtube.com/@redefine podcast. I'll leave the link in the show notes. I think that's it. I just had a brain fart just now, but it's a new playlist that I created there, all about health, right? So I'm sharing all these health tips with you. And here's the thing: these tips are things I'll never share with you stuff that I'm not doing myself, right? So these are tips and tricks and habits and practices that I've integrated into my life over the years that have really allowed me to maintain a pretty high level of health. So if you're looking to make some health changes and just improve your longevity and just feel better overall, I think this is going to be a really great resource for you. Again, it's exclusive to our YouTube channel, so I'll leave the link in the show notes if you're listening to the podcast version of this. It'll be in the show notes of this episode. Check it out. I think for me, health is ongoing. So it's not one of those things that necessarily has a destination, right? So it's constantly evolving, especially as I age, right? Like integrating new things and new habits and new lifestyles. And I was going to say, it's constant work, but I don't really feel like it's work. I think it's just living, right? And it's one of those things. Again, it never ends until the journey ends, right? So again, that's Ronnie's Health Corner, only available at our YouTube channel. Okay, so for today, the main topic, I want to revisit an episode from back in the fall, where I shared how we came about, how we got our new dog, how we got our new puppy, who is being a little rascal right now. He's 8 months old, right around there. And he's hit kind of a rascally phase, but in that episode from the fall, I shared how I just manifested him, right? And you can go back and listen to that. I'll leave a link in the show notes. Really, just for me, a crazy example of manifestation and attraction in real life, like a real life example of manifestation at work, right? Because I literally unknowingly manifested him into my life. Not just manifesting a dog. Like I manifested that exact puppy, right? He was an exact puppy that I manifested into our family. And so again, you can listen to how all that happened. It was pretty crazy. But today, in hindsight, and this will tie into the conversation we've been having the last handful of episodes, but reflecting back on how he came into our life, and the things that happened afterwards, in the months after that, it really was one of those things that it's just for me it had to happen that way, right? Like there was a bigger purpose other than getting a new puppy, right? There was so many things that in motion that, as I mentioned in the last couple of episodes, you can't see in the moment, but reflecting back, I have that distance and I have that space to have perspective and have clearer vision of perhaps the reasoning, maybe not the reasoning, but like, the cogs and the mechanisms that what's the word I'm looking for, that kind of unfolded as a result of him coming into our life, as a result of, manifesting this new puppy. So when we first saw him, we saw him at a bar. It was so random, at a local brewery in town, and it was a small town, so we like everybody hangs out at this brewery. So he was this gentleman was standing at the entrance of the brewery. He's local as well, but he had the puppy with him, and it was one of those things. We weren't in a position. We're always in a position to get another dog, but we weren't looking to get another dog, especially not a puppy. We weren't really ready either because we had 4 dogs at the time. We were still, even though more than a year had passed since we had lost one of them, one of our dogs who passed away. We still just weren't emotionally ready for another puppy, but it was just one of those things we couldn't resist, right? And at the time it seemed a little impulsive, but there was something about this dog that really was I couldn't I couldn't say no. I mean, he was the cutest thing, first of all, and he had a shirt on that said "Adopt Me," so that already is impossible to resist. I'm a softie like that for cute animals, but there was something about him. Like, again, we didn't set out to get a new dog. We had 4. We're still getting over the loss of one, so going back to 5 dogs was not something that we had intended to do. And so, there was something about that situation, that I couldn't help myself. So we took the dog home that night, and he's been with us ever since. An absolute rascal. FN2187 is his name. Star Wars fan, if you didn't know. We call him Finn for short. So it's been wonderful having him. He's ended up being the biggest dog that we have. He's coming in at probably around 65 pounds right now. Still has a little bit more growing to do because he's not even a year old yet. But it turns out that the gentleman that had him is actually a mobile vet in the area, which is very difficult to do. Very, not difficult, but the situation out here is that we live in the middle of nowhere, and so having a mobile vet that is willing to come to the house and in the local area, it's a real blessing. It really is a real blessing. Otherwise, we have to drive the dogs into town, which is 1 hour one way, right? The closest vet is an hour one way, and so yeah, it was really nice having this new connection, right? This new vet who's in the local area and willing to do house calls. He's a mobile vet. So a couple months after we got the new puppy, this was we're getting to December at this point. So we have 5, right? At that point, we have 5 dogs. Our oldest started to get really sick, and it's just one of those difficult situations where is she going to get over it? Because over the last handful of years, she would get sick and she would bounce back. She would get sick, she would bounce back. But, at 18, almost 19 years old, the bouncing back was, not bouncing back as strong as she used to. So she was getting really sick in the fall, and by the time December came, she had really, she was not well. She was not well at all, and we were faced with a decision of we got to take her to a doctor, et cetera, and thankfully, we had gotten connected to this individual, Dr. Adam, who is a local vet. So he was willing to, we would either drive down to his farm or he would drive up here to the cabin. So it was really, really convenient and incredibly helpful that he was local, number one. Number two, we finally in early December had to come to a decision because she wasn't getting better. We had to come to a decision to say goodbye, basically, to euthanize. And it was just, I think, the best decision for her. It's never an easy decision to make, but I think it was the best decision that we could have made. And one of the things that Dr. Adam actually specializes in is euthanasia. And I know that sounds a little morbid, but like when I asked him, I told him that night when he was over, I asked, like, this can't be an easy thing to do, and he said, it's not at all, but like, I think it's one of the more meaningful things, aspects of my job that I get to do, and like that, for me, it just speaks volumes about Dr. Adams' character and the fact that he was willing to come over to the house, and this was like 10, 11 o'clock at night at this point. And help us through this process, and he was absolutely incredible. He was absolutely incredible. Again, otherwise, we would have had to drive an hour into town, not knowing what's going to happen. To an emergency vet that's cold and it just doesn't have that feel of home, which is what we want all our dogs to be at in a situation like this, right? If we have to say goodbye, I'd rather them be at home and feel comfortable, as opposed to in a strange place. So like there's an incredible blessing having Dr. Adam in our lives as our new vet, and all of that again is just kind of a cascading effect that rolled off of getting a new puppy, right? Getting a new puppy, not really intentionally setting out to get a new puppy, but trusting whatever it was that was in my gut to say yes to getting a new puppy, and then opening up a new relationship and connection with an incredible veterinarian by the name of Dr. Adam. I'll leave a link to his stuff in the show notes. I mean, if you happen to be within the local area where we are, in the middle of nowhere, then it could be very handy. But it was just all these things that happened because of the new puppy, right? All these connections and all these ripple effects that I would never have been able to foresee, and I can only reflect on, looking back, right? And it's everything that we've been talking about, and had I not trusted my gut and leaned into and surrendered, to getting a new puppy and all of those unknowns, then none of that would have unfolded otherwise, right? Again, hindsight's 20/20, and you never really know what's going to happen, but if you don't surrender to those things, if you don't trust those things, if you don't trust the decisions that you make, then you potentially close yourself off from these beautiful things unfolding in your life. Again, having Adam come to the house and help us, put our baby to sleep was a real blessing, and that was all a direct result of getting Finn at the bar. And that was all a direct result of all of those processes that are happening. And if you go back and listen to the episode of how we manifested Finn into our lives, the story gets even crazier, right? It adds a whole nother dimension. So again, listen to that episode after you finish for today. But it just for me really solidifies and reiterates the points that I've made over the last handful of episodes, right? Trust the moment, trust the decisions, and surrender to the unknown, because you never know how things are going to roll out and unfold. But when you do look back, when you have enough time to look back and have enough perspective, you'll see that things roll out and things unfold for you the way they're supposed to. You really see it that way, and this is one of just one of a million examples that I can share with you in my life about how that happens and how that works. So yeah, it's really fun. It's really fun reflecting on that. So things mean a lot more, and happen for bigger purposes than you know in the moment. So trust the moment and surrender to that. Right? And also, if you have a gut feeling about something, trust that as well, right? Trust that as well. There's a reason. There's a reason for it. So anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and close it out for today. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to check out all those things. I'll leave the link in all the show notes, the past episode, Path of the Jedi, Ronnie's Health Corner, all that stuff. I'll leave that in the show notes of today's episode. Otherwise, we'll catch you next week with a fresh new one. So have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Tuesday next with a fresh episode. So until then, be well, be safe. We'll see you in the next episode.